probably don't look at getting older as being a wonderful gift, but if you remember back to when you were in your 30s and 40s, did you feel at peace? Did you value each moment and live in the present? I bet you didn't. Hi, my name is Susan, and welcome to my channel, where we'll talk about all things related to getting older. So maybe you were busy climbing your career ladder, and that took up a lot of your time. Maybe you were just out of college, you still had student loans to pay, and you were just focused on career and maybe even comparing yourself to your peers. Maybe other people you knew got better jobs than you, and you were always stressed out about that. Or maybe you were a mom and you had the responsibilities that go along with being a mom. Well, we know all about those. You know, you always put yourself last. Everyone is top priority. And back then you probably, well, it's still true now, you probably had a full-time job. And so juggling a job and being a mom was always stressful. And I remember those times. It was a lot of work, because not only did you have to do that, but you had to go grocery shopping and, you know, take care of everything. And times have changed a little bit with that, but there are more men taking responsibilities for some of the chores, which is great. But back then it was really tough, and everyone demanded your attention. So it seemed like each day was just a repeat of the one before. And my life was like this. Throughout my entire married life, the one word that comes to mind is struggle. We never seemed to have enough money to relax and enjoy things. Everything was a struggle. Having enough money for the bills, having enough money for groceries, it was always something that was on my mind. And I was married for 30 years. I was always worried about being a good mom. I wanted to be the best mom I could be and be a good parent to my two boys. So, you know, our lives are filled back then with all those responsibilities. And thankfully, that part is behind me now, and it's behind you too, if you're in your 60s, 70s. And now that we're in our 60s, our 70s, we're not chasing that career anymore. And our kids are grown, and they're out on their own, and we can slow down a bit. We can relax. There are no more competitions, no more comparisons that we need to make. And it's time for us. It's time now to stop worrying about what people think about us. We've lived a long time, and we have a stronger sense of who we are. We have a stronger sense of our identity. And we don't have to rely on anyone for our happiness. We don't have to please anyone except ourselves. And I don't mean this to sound selfish or uncaring. It's just that we're not people pleasers anymore. And because we've lived this long, we have so much experience with the highs and lows of life. We've learned to cope better in certain situations. We don't overreact. And I think back to things that bothered me back then. I totally overreacted, and I would dwell on it for the longest time. It's such a waste of your time. And now it seems just so pointless, because we have the ability now to allow things to just kind of roll off our backs. And we've learned to manage our emotions better. Or when you were younger, do you remember when you would take things so personally? Now things don't bother me anymore. Probably that they don't bother you that much either. I've come to realize that it's pointless and it's just not worth it. But see, these lessons we learn when we get older. We don't realize them when we're younger. And so getting older has given us this gift. We've also learned to forgive. Not to forget, but to forgive. And forgiving when we're younger doesn't come easily. It feels easier to forgive when we're older because it just doesn't seem that important. So many things seemed so important when we were younger. And as we get older, these things just fade away. They just don't take top priority. Another one was public speaking. I was so fearful of speaking in public when I was younger. Oh my God, I could hardly breathe. I would like hyperventilate. It was frightening. And now here I am talking to you on this YouTube channel, and it's just so funny that you gain more self-confidence and more self-esteem when you get older. And again, you don't worry that much about little things. It's those little things that would just eat away at you when you were younger, because we're less self-conscious and we have a greater sense of self-esteem. Another funny thing I wanted to mention was something you don't hear about very often that people talk about, and it's about understanding your past a little bit, your family. And like right now, you're the age that your parents were when you were younger. So you think back to some things that occurred, maybe good, maybe bad, and you start to understand it a little bit better. You're looking at it with a different perspective. You're looking at it as the same age that your parents were when you were younger, and you can understand better some of the things that they went through and why. And it gives you it gives me a different feeling, a different outlook on my past a little bit, especially my childhood, which was not terrific. So yeah, it helps a little bit in that respect too. And studies show that we're happier as we get older. For one thing, there's less pressure on us. But the most interesting study, I think, is the one that said that as we get older, we have an unfailing knack for focusing on the positive. So I'd like to read a quote that says, "Seniors with healthy minds make use of powerful strategies that let them tamp down negative experiences." It's called the age-related positivity effect. So we tend to downplay negativity as we age, and we focus more on the positivity of life. We also live more in the present. We don't think about the future that much. We don't think about the past all that much. I mean, sure, we think about it, we recollect, we have our memories, but we focus more on the present. And when we're young, we always focus on the future, didn't we? We didn't focus on the present day. We were looking ahead to what we were going to do in the years ahead. So let's accept this gift that we were given. Let's embrace it, let's cherish it, and let's be grateful for it. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.